Today, Activision Blizzard is facing another discrimination lawsuit, but probably not for the reason you're thinking. This is CheckPoint. Welcome to CheckPoint. I've got to pee.
Should we take a break?
No. I deliver the news better with a body-wide sense of urgency. CES, the Consumer Electronics Show, has been happening to all of us this week, and if you're unfamiliar, it's the event where companies show off a bunch of nonsense they may or may not ever manufacture for mass consumption to drum up public interest and investment dollars. Things like folding phones that bend backwards, or a manicure machine that looks like Johnny Ive designed Dune's Agony Box. This year on the show floor, a company named Proto was demonstrating its hologram technology, or at least the parallax screen thing they call a hologram, but that isn't a hologram. I digress. There was also Mario. Yes, in a tech demo the company is now calling, quote, inadvertent and not involved with Nintendo, Mario was acting as a digital assistant to help people navigate their way around Target. And he sounded just like him too. Let's watch.
If you want to eat healthy, consider incorporating a variety of fruits, vegetables, whole grains, lean proteins, and healthy fats into your diet.
Yeah, no kidding that wasn't approved by Nintendo. I know people miss Charles Martinet, but Kevin Afghani is not this bad. Though it would be funny if one of the wonder mushrooms suddenly made Mario start saying things like, I don't think that mushroom was food safe. Perhaps find some syrup of ipecac in aisle 3 of the pharmacy.
Hey, do you want to feel old? The Nintendo 3DS debuted in February 2011. That was almost 13 years ago. And now do you want to feel scared? Climate change! No, I'm kidding. I don't want to scare you that bad. But your 3DS games may no longer be on their cartridges! Woo! I don't mean save piles, by the way. I mean the games, like the software. Like you put in Pokemon Omega Ruby, and then you're like, I'm going to play some games, and the cartridge is just blank. Anyhow, this phenomenon has been occurring for several years, but it hasn't been widely reported. But recently, a Mastodon user named Kistaro Windrider posted about how 3DS and Switch cartridges can just die, especially if they've been sitting idle for a while. How? According to a post by GBA temp poster Socram8888 from back in 2021, here's the lies to children version of it. So 3DS and Switch cartridges use memory storage called extra ROM, which is a fancier type of NAND flash memory as opposed to mask ROM. In mask ROM, the manufacturer permanently burns data onto the chip. But Socram says that when you use this NAND ROM, it's basic physics. The electrons leak from their respective charge traps over time, and then the contents become too fuzzy for the controller to make any sense of them. And, I mean, that's, like I said, it's not really the explanation, but I think it's good enough to understand. And it explains why Nintendo implemented commands in the 3DS that continually run in the background to refresh the charge and perform error correction on the running cartridge. Socram concludes that for a card to be healthy, it's good to be periodically plugged into the console so their NAND contents can be refreshed and thus avoid any data losses. Of course, this is only possible to a certain extent because error-checking correction algorithms aren't magical and they can only correct errors up to a certain limit. So if your cartridge has gone beyond that limit, good luck. Here's the takeaway. Go get your 3DS and Switch games, especially ones you haven't played since 2011, plug one into your console, and then start up the game. And then, like when you're trying to restart your car after your battery dies, you let it sit for a while, even if it seems fine. How long is a while? Just like the car, nobody knows. 15 minutes? Go for a lap around Pokemon Ruby? Doesn't matter. Just do what feels right, friend. I have it on good authority that Beige and Heather have shelves full of physical 3DS and Switch games, so good luck, fellow travelers. But why? Why did Nintendo do this decision? It's so stupid. Probably money. Maybe those extra ROM chips are slightly cheaper. Maybe it's easier to make last-minute changes when you go from final.game to final version 2 for real this time.game. Whatever the reason, I'm just pointing this out to you now so you might still be able to save your old cartridges. So go! Have fun taking Pokemon Ruby, Omega, whatever out for a spin. Hopefully it turns over.
All right, Microsoft, you wanted Activision Blizzard, you get everything that comes with them, like age discrimination lawsuits. There's only one so far, but we know that company loves to iterate. James Reed Venable is a 57-year-old white man and former executive of Activision Blizzard who, according to his court filing, held a leadership role on the operations team and was responsible for an $85 million budget. That he's old and white is critical to his complaint because he believes that's why he was fired. In his lawsuit, Venable alleges that former CEO Bobby Kotick said at a leadership conference that the company's problem was, quote, too many old white guys. A statement that Venable further alleges directly, or at least in part, resulted in 2 white male executives in their 50s leaving the company. Venable also says human resources failed to properly investigate when a female employee said he had white male privilege, and then he, quote, formally filed a complaint that this incident was not investigated and alleges he, quote, was the first person to sound an alarm that a larger issue might be brewing, but was ignored and not taken seriously. I don't know why, but including the phrase plaintiff was not taken seriously in the actual complaint is very funny to me. And I suppose we aren't either, but in any case, it will be up to the courts to decide how much of Venable's complaint has merit, but as a mere layperson, I absolutely refuse to believe that Bobby Kotick ever uttered the words, "The problem with Activision Blizzard leadership is too many old white guys," unless it was said sarcastically and immediately followed by the rest of the sentence, according to some woke nerds.
Okay, we're done. You can go pee.
Oh, I went during your story. No. I left and I went to the toilet. You just didn't notice because you were dispensing useful consumer advice.
Well, you were also dispensing something.
Exactly. We're both doing important work.
Coming up, asymmetrical horror game Dead by Daylight is adding Alan Wake to its cast of survivors, which seems a little unfair. How can a Cenobite, Freddy Krueger, or Pyramid Head possibly stand up to Alan Wake's abilities of moderately successful novelist and has a flashlight?
Let me tell you about a funny part of that Activision lawsuit that I couldn't work into the story.
Ooh, yes, please.
In the complaint, he talks about this instance where 7 other senior staff members were laid off. And it says in the complaint that they were all men that were highly paid executives. And I was like, oh, bro, you're so close. Have you even considered the fact that they were not let go because they were men, but that they were let go because they were highly paid?
Yep.
And the fact that they were highly paid is probably because they were men, but that's a different conversation.
That's certainly how they got on that career path ladder to begin with.
That's what I'm saying. It's like you said in your own complaint, you had the excuse right there in your lawsuit that it's like
you're making
we
so
fired
much...
all these men that happened to be highly paid. No. They were highly paid and happened to be men, and they were probably just trying to cut budget.
We also don't know which people he's talking about. But
No.
It's worth noting that there is a non-zero number of high-level male Activision Blizzard executives that left in the last little while because of the sexual harassment discrimination lawsuit.
Yeah. Maybe some of these people got fired because they kind of they spent a lot of their career looking the other way. Who can say? I'm sure we'll find out more details later.
I think I can segue this.
Oh, okay.
Into someone else looking the other way.
Oh.
I guess.
Okay.
I guess we'll say that works. I don't know. Valve has finally made a decision on allowing AI games developed with generative AI on Steam.
Yes, because before it was no.
Yeah, and essentially, well, it was no until we figure out what we're going to do about it.
Correct.
And what they've come back and said is, we can't. The laws around things created with generative AI or machine learning, it's certain aspects of it can't be copyrighted. There's rulings around the legality of certain things or how the models were trained or what models are. So Valve has basically at this point said, all right, look, there are so many different dials and knobs and levers and stuff that can be involved under the umbrella of used generative AI to develop this game, right? It could be absolutely the forefront. It could be totally unseen in the final product. So what we're going to do is you have to tell us if you used it, you appropriately mark your game, and then we will tell consumers they use generative AI in this. And if you get in shit for it, we're not part of this.
Yeah, they do say that you can't use like generated AI like copyrighted material. So you can't use generated AI to make like a Mickey Mouse game.
Oh yeah, and I'm sure that
and like
Valve
that-
is definitely gonna somehow enact that.
Respond to a claim from a copyright holder. Like
yeah.
they made Magic the Gathering with AI. It's a new, something like that, Valve will be like, oh yeah, we can't have that. They've basically said that we don't know if you've used copyrighted assets to make your AI things. Spoilers, everything has, because all of the people who talk about all of those wonderful like art generating things that can make you a picture of anything, the people who made that have been openly boasting how they've just taken the archives of the Magic the Gathering art collection and fed it in. Which is why it's probably so good at fantasy art. Mm-hmm. The point being, but Valve is not going to get involved there. That's not their thing. That's not something they're going to police. They're going to let the courts handle that.
Yeah.
They're just going to say that you can use generative AI on the platform as long as you disclose what's in it and how you used it. You can't express copyrighted materials with your AI, and you can't do generative AI adult-only content in any way. Because
Yes.
they cannot enforce that, but they and their lawyers are like, yeah, but like we can all see where this is going to go to, right? Is that someone's going to use it to make something that's very, very illegal, and somebody will get in trouble for that.
Yeah.
And then they're going to come after us anyhow, so we're just going to say no, even though we say we can't enforce it for anything else. Do you want to hear something fun?
Yes.
SAG-AFTRA, the guild representing actors, which, went on strike earlier, trying to, make sure that they get some AI protection for their members, just said that, yeah, video game companies are fine to use AI voice. Because SAG-AFTRA does not understand or care, possibly, about voice actors, I guess, is that my only takeaway I can get from this, which I realize is kind of spicy and hyperbole ridden, but come on!
Video games aren't different.
Video games aren't real art.
I mean,
Y'all be video games if you keep this up.
they said that it has to be covered by the contract.
Yeah, but they didn't say like you can't.
The point is they've got firmer protections in place for voice acting for other work than they do for video game work.
Yeah.
Which
So
is-
it's kind of crappy for people who make their living in video games.
Yeah. That's it for CheckPoint, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah. Thanks for watching, everybody.
First checkpoint of the year, right?
Yeah.
Second checkpoint of the year?
Yeah.
There was one last year. Well, last week, yeah.
There was one last year.
There was one
There's
last week.
several last year. Well, you know what?
At
Whose
least
first
two.
checkpoint of the year it is? Mine. Good night.